The Government of India Act 1935. It was a lengthy and detailed document having 321 sections and 10 schedules. The Act of 1935 prescribed a federation taking the provinces and the Indian states or native states as unit. It was optional for the Indian states to join the federation, and since they never joined, the federation never came into being. The act separated Burma from India, and the two new provinces of Orissa and Sindh were created. The act divided legislative powers between the center and provinces. The executive authority of a province was also exercised by a governor on behalf of the crown and not as subordinate of the governor general. The governor was required to act with the advice of minister responsible to the legislature. In certain matters, the governor was required to act in his discretion without ministerial advice and under the control and directions of the governor general and through him of the secretary of state. The executive authority of the center was vested in the governor general on behalf of the crown. Councillors or council of ministers responsible to the legislature was not appointed, although such provisions existed in the Act of 1935. The central legislature was bicameral, consisting of the Federal Assembly and the Council of the State. In 6 provinces, the legislature was bicameral, comprising a legislative assembly and a legislative council. In other provinces, the legislature was unicameral. Apart from the Governor General's power of veto, a bill passed by the central legislature was also subjected to veto by the Crown. The Governor General could prevent discussion in the legislature and suspend the proceedings on any bill if he was satisfied that it would affect the discharge of his special responsibilities. The Governor General had independent powers of legislation concurrently with those of the legislature. On some subjects, no bill or amendment could be introduced in the legislature without the Governor General's previous sanction. A threefold division in the Act of 1935, there was a federal list over which the federal legislature had exclusive powers of legislature. There was a provincial list of matters over which the provincial legislature had exclusive jurisdiction. There was a concurrent list also over which both the federal and provincial legislature had competence. The Governor General was empowered to authorize either the federal or the provincial legislature to enact a law with respect to any matter which was not enumerated in the above noted legislative lists. Dominion status, which was promised by the Simon Commission in 1929, was not conferred by the Government of India Act 1935. Cripps Mission. In March 1942, Sir Stafford Cripps, a member to the British Cabinet, came with a draft declaration on the proposals of the British government. These proposals were to be adopted at the end of the Second World War, provided the Congress and the Muslim League could accept them. According to the proposals, the Constitution of India was to be framed by an elected constituent assembly by the Indian people. The constitution should give India dominion status. There should be one India Union comprising all the provinces of the Indian states. Any province or Indian state not accepting the constitution would be free to retain its constitutional position existing at that time, and with such non-acceding provinces, the British government could enter into separate constitutional arrangements. Cabinet mission failed. In March 1946, Lord Attlee sent a cabinet mission to India consisting of 3 cabinet ministers, namely Lord Pethick Lawrence, Sir Stafford Cripps, and Mr. A.B. Alexander. The object of the mission was to help India achieve its independence as early as possible and to set up constituent assembly. The cabinet mission rejected the claim for a separate constituent assembly and a separate state for the Muslim. According to Cabinet Mission Plan, there was to be a Union of India comprising both British India and the states and having jurisdiction over the subject of foreign affairs, defence and communication. All residuary powers were to be vested in the provinces and the states. The Union was to have an executive and a legislature constituting of representative of the provinces and the state. Any decision involving a major communal issue in the legislature was to require a majority support of representatives of each of the two major communities present and voting, as well as majority of all the members present and voting. The provinces could form groups with executives and legislatures, and each group could be competent to determine the provincial subjects. The Mountbatten Plan. The plan for transfer of power to the Indians and the partition of the country was laid down in the Mountbatten Plan. It was given a formal shape by a statement made by the British government on 3rd June 1947, the Indian Independence Act 1947 of the British Parliament. In pursuance of this act, the Government of India Act 1935 was amended by the adaptation orders both in India and Pakistan for setting up an interim constituent assembly to draw up the future constitution of the country. interim government in September 2, 1946, as per the proposal of cabinet mission in 1945. At that time, who was what? Jawaharlal Nehru was Vice President of the Council, External Affairs and Commonwealth Relations. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was of Home, Information and Broadcasting. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was of Food and Agriculture. Dr. John Mathai for Industries and Supplies. Jagjeevan Ram for Labour. Sardar Baldev Singh of Defence. C.H. Bhabha of Work, Mines and Power. Liaquat Ali Khan of Finance. Abdur Rab Nistar of Posts and Air. Asaf Ali of Railways and Transport, C. Rajagopalachari, Education and Arts, I. Chundrigar of Commerce, Ghajanfar Ali Khan of Health, Joginder Nath Mandal in Law. And when the first cabinet of independent India came in 1947, what was their portfolios? Jawaharlal Nehru's Prime Minister, External Affairs and Commonwealth Relations, Scientific Research. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Home, Information and Broadcasting, States. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Food and Agriculture. Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, Education. Dr. John Mathai, Railways and Transport. R.K. Sanmugham Chetty, Finance. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Law. Jagjeevan Ram, Labour. Sardar Baldev Singh, Defence. Rajkumari Amrit Kaur, Health. C.H. Bhava, Commerce. Rafi Ahmad Kidwai, Communication. Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee, Industries and Supply. V.N. Gadiel, Work, Mines and Power. From the 15th August 1947, India ceased to be a dependency and the suzerainty of the British Crown over the Indian states, and the treaty relation with the tribal area lapsed from that day. In a referendum held on 6 July 1947, Sylhet, Assam had decided to join the province of East Bengal to be a part of new country Pakistan. The office of the Secretary of State for India was abolished. The Governor General and the governors lost extraordinary powers of legislation to compete with the legislature. The Central Legislature of India, composed of the Legislative Assembly and the Council of States, ceased to exist on August 14, 1947. The Constituent Assembly itself was to function also as the central legislature with complete sovereignty. Thank you.